What if life sometimes wants to show you an easier way? What if the right next step doesn't have to be so hard? I'm talking about shortcuts, the aligned kind, the kind you don't force but allow. And today I'll give you a few simple ways to help you discern if a shortcut is divinely aligned or just a shiny distraction. Because yes, sometimes the path opens up beside you and you just have to be willing to see it and take it. This is Catching Sunshine, where I share stories, tools, and reminders that life doesn't have to feel so heavy. You've got episode number 41, Allowing Life's Shortcuts. Welcome to Catching Sunshine, where you'll learn simple ways to look for the good, celebrate small wins, and carry more joy into your daily life. I'm Carolyn Cooper, your host and fellow possibilitarian. For over 20 years, I've been teaching and coaching people to align their shine and embrace new possibilities. And here's what I know. Optimism isn't fluffy, it's fuel. Want to stay sunny side up? Come on, let's catch some rays, because one spark of happy can brighten your whole day. Hey, Sunshine Catcher, thanks for joining me. This is a fun topic. I hope you love it. We've all heard that old saying, there are no shortcuts in life. And while that can be a helpful reminder not to rush the process or expect overnight results, today I want to challenge that a little. Because sometimes there are shortcuts, not the risky kind that promise unrealistic results like flat abs in 3 days. Wouldn't that be great? But the kind that show up when you're in alignment, when you're listening, when you're willing to pause and let life show you a better way. How can we open up to the aligned shortcuts life offers? And how to know when it's time to push, when it's time to pause, when it's time to follow the ease. Let's get into it. The word shortcut gets a bad rap, doesn't it? It can sound like you're trying to skip steps or cheat the system or avoid the effort. But there's another kind of shortcut, one that's wise, intuitive, and beautifully timed. This kind of shortcut isn't about cutting corners, it's about cutting clutter. And actually, shortcuts are how the world progresses. Think about it. We used to travel by horse and carriage, now we drive or fly. We used to wash clothes by hand, and now we have washing machines. Letters gave way to telephones, then to email, and now AI can help write them all for us. All of those are shortcuts. No cheats, but upgrades. Innovations that help us do life better. It's when something that should have taken 6 months happens in a week, or when the solution that's been evading you lands clearly and calmly during a walk or in the shower, what I call my inspiration chamber. These aren't accidents, they're alignment. But in order to receive them, we have to let go of the belief that everything good has to be hard. There's this great scene in Downton Abbey when the family first gets electricity installed. Some of the staff are genuinely worried because it's going to burn the house down, or they'll get sick from the electricity in the walls. It's such a great example of how we often resist the new, even if it's clearly a better, easier, more efficient way forward. But just like electricity, washing machines, or AI tools today, many of life's shortcuts are simply progress in disguise. The key is discerning. Because there is a lot of false information out there, as we all know. I'm talking mostly about things in your everyday life, letting things be easier. And sometimes you gotta ask, is this shortcut aligned and supportive, or just a shiny distraction? Here are 5 ways to discern an aligned shortcut. Number 1, does it bring clarity or chaos? If the shortcut creates more peace and freedom and flow, it's likely aligned. If it adds pressure or confusion or urgency, it may not be. Number 2, what does your body say? Tune in. Does your body feel light, open, and curious, or tight and anxious, or braced for something? Your nervous system often knows before your mind does. Number 3, are you drawn by inspiration or desperation? Aligned shortcuts feel exciting or gently certain. Desperate ones often feel like grabbing at a solution to avoid discomfort. Number 4, Is it in harmony with your values? Even a smooth-looking path isn't right if it pulls you away from who you want to be. And number 5, does it open you up or shut something down? Aligned shortcuts often expand possibilities. Manipulative or misguided shortcuts usually feel constricting once you step into them. So let's talk about the kind of shortcut that life offers, because I believe that life often says, you don't need to struggle through this the old way. Here's something better. I feel like it probably says that to us a lot, but we ignore it because we don't believe it, or it sounds too good to be true, or we feel like we haven't worked hard enough or struggled enough to be worthy of it. But here's some examples of what I mean. Have you ever had this happen? You've been stuck on a decision or spinning your wheels, and then out of nowhere, a conversation, a book, a song lyric, or even a random coincidence, I'm using air quotes on that word, coincidence, gives you total clarity. Or maybe you were trying so hard to force something, pushing, planning, perfecting, and the second you let go, the right opportunity lands in your lap. It almost feels too easy. And that's where we start to question it, because we think, wait, it can't be that easy. Can it really be that simple? But here's what I've learned. Sometimes, yes, it can be that simple. That's what it looks like when life hands you the shortcut. The question is, will you recognize it? Will you take it? Or will you convince yourself it's not legit unless it's earned through struggle? Sometimes we're so used to the hard road, we don't even notice the smooth path opening up beside us. And I have to interject here and say, this shows up all the time in my energy healing. In fact, every time I teach a new Simply Aligned training course, I have students ask, can it really be this simple? And I get it. We're so conditioned to believe that growth only counts if it's earned through grit and struggle and lots of time. Sometimes I'll work with a client who's carried pain or overwhelm for years. And after a session, they feel lighter and clearer and even joyful. And they're so relieved and happy. But you know what happens sometimes? They don't fully step into that new vibration because they're waiting for the other shoe to drop. They think it's too good to be true. It can feel so unfamiliar to feel good that their brain tries to pull them back into the familiar struggle. But the truth is, true lasting healing doesn't always have to take forever. When energy shifts, when the alignment is there, it can move more easily. And that's why being open to an easier way, to life's shortcuts, is so important, because often the shortcut isn't too good to be true. It's just a better way showing up for you and you being ready to receive it. One of the most powerful things I've learned is that ease doesn't mean lazy. I mean, I guess sometimes it does, but ease can be intelligent. Ease is alignment. Ease is listening. And I mentioned energy work earlier, but I'm talking about in all areas of our lives. And nature is such a beautiful example of this. Rivers don't run in straight lines. They curve and bend around obstacles. They find a way to flow around it instead of staying stuck. Birds don't flap nonstop. They ride the air currents. And trees don't fight the wind. They sway with it and still keep growing. Nature doesn't waste energy forcing what doesn't need to be forced. It allows. And we're allowed to do the same. So how do we actually open up to those helpful shortcuts? Here's a few gentle shifts that can help. First of all, get still. Just for a few minutes. Step out of the noise, step out of the scroll, step out of the shoulds. Ask, is there a simpler way that I haven't seen yet? Or the way I like to say it is, how can I make this easier? That little question has helped me so many times. In fact, this episode, I was writing down some bullet points for a different topic. As I record this, I'm going out of town, so I'm trying to get 3 podcasts recorded before I leave. And this popped up on my computer, and I forgot that I had written an outline for this weeks ago, maybe even months ago. And I'm like, well, isn't that cool? That is life handing me a shortcut. And I felt very aligned that this is the one I needed to record right now. So, you're welcome. All right. Another thing that can help is tune into your body. Does this thing that looks like a shortcut, does that idea bring a sense of lightness? Does your chest loosen? Does your breath slow? That's often your yes. I always ask, does it feel expansive or contractive? You'll know. Also, don't confuse ease with wrong. Sometimes the thing that feels joyful or obvious is the path. Just because it isn't stressful enough doesn't mean that it's not real. And one more thing, be open to pivots. The shortcut may not look like what you pictured, but if it feels aligned, you can follow that nudge. Allowing life to offer a shortcut doesn't mean you're skipping the lesson. Often it means you've already learned it, and now you're ready for the next chapter. When your energy is clear and your alignment is strong, life just flows more easily. You hear your intuition more clearly so that you're able to recognize the shortcut when it appears. And sometimes the shortcut comes after the long, hard road. That might sound counterintuitive, but hear me out. So if you've been through the tough season, the burnout, the heartbreak, the stretch, and when you come out on the other side, you're different. You're wiser, you're clearer, you're stronger. That new clarity is your shortcut going forward. Yes, you've been through the hard parts. It may not seem like a shortcut, but what I'm saying is the wisdom you gained from it, if you use that, it will be a shortcut for you in many instances going forward, so that you don't repeat the same patterns, so that you trust yourself faster, and so that you don't waste energy proving anything anymore. Ooh, that kind of sounds like spiraling up and being anti-fragile. Shout out to episode 35 and episode 40. So yes, some shortcuts are divinely earned through the fire, but others are offered just because you're ready, because you're listening, because you asked. So this week, I invite you to watch for the shortcut, that moment when something unexpected opens, that better idea that lands quietly, that sense of peace that says, you don't have to do it the hard way this time. Trust it. You're worthy of aligned shortcuts. Ease doesn't mean you're missing something. Ease means you're aligned. Here's a couple of affirmations to take with you. I allow life to show me a better way. I trust the gentle path. I follow the inspired flow. And I welcome aligned shortcuts with grace. Thanks for spending this time with me, my friend. And if this episode resonated, I'd love for you to share it with someone who needs to hear it today. And I'd so love it if you could leave a review on Apple Podcast. If you're not sure how, and I get it, I wasn't for a really long time, but it's easy. You just go to the main page of the Catching Sunshine podcast in your Apple Podcast app, if that's what you're on. You scroll down past the episodes until you see the stars, tap a star rating. A 5 would be awesome, thank you. And then you can tap write a review, and it's right there. So even a sentence or two makes a huge difference. It helps more people find the show, and it lets me know what's resonating with you. Thank you again for being here. I hope you have a fantastic week. Until next time, keep catching the rays, and let it be easy. Hey, thanks for joining me. If you're leaving with a little more light or a fresh idea, go ahead and hit subscribe so we can keep catching the rays together. We've got plenty more sunshine, joy, and possibilities ahead.